Welcome to Galactic University, where the brightest minds from across 17 different star systems come to study the most advanced xenobiology program in known space. And by brightest minds, I mean everyone except the one human who somehow managed to talk his way into this cosmic circus. That would be me, Jake Martinez, Earth's first, and if things keep going the way they are, probably last exchange student at this temple of alien superiority. I'm sitting in Xenobiology 401 Advanced Predator Studies surrounded by creatures that make the cantina scene from Star Wars look like a kid's birthday party. To my left sits Zara Benign, a mechanical marvel from the synth worlds who calculates the precise probability of every breath she takes. Seriously, she once spent 47 minutes determining the optimal angle to hold her stylus. To my right, there's Bluefington, a gelatinous blob from Squishtar Prime who changes color based on his anxiety level. Right now he's a lovely shade of nervous purple, because Professor Klaxon just walked in. Professor Klaxon, ladies and gentlemen, a 7-foot-tall Zentaurian with 4 arms, 6 eyes, and an ego the size of a small moon. He glides into the lecture hall on his anti-gravity platform because walking is apparently beneath creatures of his elevated intellectual capacity. His translator box renders his speech in that condescending tone that all advanced aliens seem to perfect in Smugness 101. "Greetings, my intellectually gifted students," Professor Klaxon announces, his multiple eyes scanning the room before inevitably settling on me with barely concealed disdain. "And, of course, our special participant from the primitive world of Earth." Thanks, Professor. Really setting the tone for academic excellence there. "Today," he continues, waving 2 of his arms dramatically while the other 2 operate his floating lecture podium, "we begin our most challenging module, the study of Class Omega predators, the apex hunters of our galaxy, creatures so dangerous, so perfectly evolved for killing, that they require our most sophisticated containment systems." Zara Beanie's optical sensors whir as she processes this information. Bluefington shifts to a deeper purple. I just sit there wondering if the cafeteria still has those weird space nuggets that taste like chicken if you squint your taste buds hard enough. The Vorthak. Professor Klaxon pronounces the name like he's announcing the arrival of death itself. A holographic image appears above his podium, showing what looks like a cross between a panther, a dragon, and someone's worst nightmare after eating too much pizza. Native to the deathworld of Carnage Prime. 6 limbs, each ending in molecular sharp claws. Psychic hunting abilities. Bite force measured in the thousands of Newtonian units. Intelligence level classified as near-sapient apex. Bluffington is now approaching a shade of purple that doesn't exist on Earth's color spectrum. Zara Benign is running calculations so fast, her cooling fans have kicked in, and I'm thinking this thing looks like my neighbor's cat if it hit the gym for about 1,000 years. "This magnificent killing machine," the professor continues, "has been contained using quantum lock technology, psychic dampening fields, and molecular barriers. It represents the pinnacle of predatory evolution, refined by millions of years of natural selection into the perfect hunter." He pauses for dramatic effect, his 6 eyes gleaming with academic fervor. "And tomorrow, we will begin our observational studies. You will witness firsthand why creatures like the Vorthak are classified as galactic threat level extinction event. This is, of course, perfectly safe due to our advanced Zentaurian containment protocols." The way he says advanced Zentaurian makes it clear that anything not invented by his species is basically considered Stone Age technology, including, obviously, anything from Earth. "I trust," and here he looks directly at me again, "that even our less technologically sophisticated student will find this educational." Less technologically sophisticated. Right. Because the species that figured out how to make dogs loyal companions and cats into willing roommates clearly has nothing to offer when it comes to understanding predators. "But sure, Professor, I'll just sit here with my primitive human brain and try to keep up with all this advanced thinking. After all, what could possibly go wrong with a bunch of overconfident aliens playing with the galaxy's most dangerous predator? This should be fun." So here we are, 24 hours later, standing in the Advanced Containment Laboratory. And by standing, I mean everyone else is hovering, floating, or somehow defying gravity while I'm just walking around like a caveman. The lab looks like something out of a science fiction movie, which I suppose it technically is from my perspective. The centerpiece is the Vorthak's containment unit. Picture a glass cube the size of a small house, except the glass is made of some kind of quantum crystallized whatever the hell, and it's surrounded by enough blinking lights and humming machinery to power a small city. Inside this technological marvel, the Vorthak lounges on what I can only describe as a very expensive alien cat tree. "Behold," Professor Klaxon announces, gesturing grandly with all four arms. The pinnacle of Zentorian engineering, the Omega-class containment system. Notice the triple redundant quantum locks, the psychic dampening array, and the molecular barrier generators. I noticed the Vorthak. It's about the size of a small horse, jet black with these iridescent stripes that shift color when it moves. 6 legs, just like the hologram showed, but somehow more graceful than I expected. Its eyes are this deep amber color, and they're currently tracking every movement in the room with the kind of focus that says, I'm cataloging all of you for future eating purposes. The containment field operates on 17 different technological principles, Klaxon drones on, each one beyond the comprehension of primitive civilizations. Zara Annie's optical array zooms in on various components. Professor, I calculate the probability of containment failure at 0.0000003%, essentially impossible given current technological parameters. Bloomington, who's managed to dial his anxiety down to a sort of worried lavender, raises a tentacle. But what if something goes wrong? Nothing will go wrong, Klaxon says, with the kind of confidence that makes me immediately suspicious. Zentarian technology is flawless. Observe. He begins the demonstration, activating various systems with theatrical flourishes. Lights flash, machines hum louder, and the containment field shimmers with energy. The Vorthak watches all of this with what I swear looks like mild amusement. That's when things get interesting. Klaxon activates something called the Behavioral Analysis Matrix, which apparently is designed to test the creature's responses to various stimuli. A mechanical arm extends into the containment area, carrying what looks like a space-age cattle prod. We will now observe the subject's reaction to mild electrical stimulation, Klaxon announces. The prod touches the Vorthak. The Vorthak does not appreciate this. What happens next unfolds in slow motion. The creature moves faster than anything that size has a right to. One moment it's lounging casually, the next, it's launched itself at the mechanical arm with a roar that sounds like someone opened the gates of hell and cranked the volume to 11. Alarms start blaring. Red lights flash. Zara Benigne's cooling fans go into overdrive. Bloomington immediately shifts to panic. Red. Fascinating, Klaxon says, completely missing the fact that his flawless containment field is now flickering like a broken fluorescent light. The subject displays remarkable aggression responses to minor stimuli. The Vorthak hits the quantum barrier, and the quantum barrier breaks. Not cracks, not weakens, breaks, like someone just threw a baseball through a window, except the baseball is a 6-limbed murder machine, and the window cost more than Earth's entire defense budget. That's not supposed to happen, Zara 9 states with mechanical precision. Containment breach, an automated voice announces helpfully. Containment breach, all personnel evacuate immediately. The Vorthak lands on the laboratory floor with the kind of grace that predators have perfected over millions of years. It takes a moment to survey its new environment, those amber eyes methodically cataloging exits, threats, and what I assume are menu options. Then all hell breaks loose. Klaxon starts shouting orders in 3 different languages, none of which include run for your lives. Zara Benigne begins calculating escape routes at superhuman speed while simultaneously trying to download the lab's entire database. Bloomington goes full crimson and starts making noises like a deflating balloon. The emergency doors slam shut, trapping us in here with what is essentially a furry missile equipped with claws, because apparently Zentorian safety protocols were designed by the same genius who thought poking apex predators with electric sticks was a good idea. Remain calm, Klaxon shouts, which is rich coming from someone whose translator is now smoking. The secondary containment protocols will activate momentarily. The Vorthak tilts its head, looking at all the panicking aliens with what I can only describe as professional interest, like a chef evaluating ingredients. And then it looks at me. I'm the only one not running around screaming, which probably makes me either the calmest person in the room or the most obvious target. The creature's amber eyes lock onto mine, and for a moment, everything goes quiet except for the blaring alarms and Bloomington's continued deflating balloon impression. The galaxy's most dangerous predator, and I are having a moment. This can't possibly end well. The cavalry arrives in the form of Commander Steelclaw and his elite security forces. I say cavalry, but it's more like a parade of overconfidence wrapped in shiny armor. Steelclaw himself is a Krillian, which means he looks like someone crossed a praying mantis with a bodybuilder and gave the result delusions of grandeur. Stand aside, civilians, Steelclaw announces through his suit's external speakers. The Galactic Security Corps will handle this minor containment issue. Minor containment issue. The Vorthak, which has been calmly observing the chaos like it's watching a nature documentary about stupid aliens, turns its attention to the new arrivals. Its ears perk up, and I swear I see it smile. Predators love overconfident prey. Deploying neural disruptors, one of Steelclaw's subordinates reports. They raise weapons that look like they were designed by someone who thought bigger and more glowing parts automatically meant better. The neural disruptors fire. Beams of crackling energy hit the Vorthak, which takes a step forward. That's it. One step. Like someone just offered it a mild suggestion to consider perhaps thinking about being stunned. Impossible, Steelclaw mutters. These weapons can drop a Titanosaurus Rex. Maybe, I call out from behind an overturned lab table, but did you calibrate them for a species that evolved on a deathworld where Tuesday is considered a light day for carnage? Steelclaw ignores me because obviously the primitive human couldn't possibly know anything useful. Switch to plasma restraints, he orders. More advanced weapons appear. They fire nets made of contained plasma that should, in theory, wrap around the target and hold them immobile. The Vorthak watches these approaching nets with the same expression my cat gets when I try to give it a bath. Then it simply sidesteps them. All of them. While they're traveling at roughly the speed of sound. It's predicting our targeting algorithms. Zara 9 observes helpfully while calculating the exact trajectory of her own panic. How is that possible? Steelclaw demands. Well, I shout over the alarms, maybe because it's a predator that evolved by outsmarting prey that could also predict targeting algorithms? Again, ignored. Clearly my primitive Earth logic has no place in this advanced tactical situation. Meanwhile, Professor Claxon has recovered enough to start offering his own brilliant suggestions. Perhaps we should activate the emergency containment foam, he suggests, pointing at what looks like the galaxy's most expensive fire suppression system. Excellent idea, Steelclaw agrees, because obviously more technology is always the answer. They activate the foam dispensers. Industrial-grade containment foam begins spraying from ceiling nozzles, designed to instantly harden around any target and render them immobile. It's like the universe's stickiest silly string, except it costs more per gallon than most planets' GDP. The Vorthak looks up at the approaching foam, calculates trajectories that would make Zara Ben jealous, and proceeds to leap between the streams like it's playing the galaxy's deadliest version of hopscotch. Not a single drop touches it. This is impossible, Claxon sputters. Our technology is the most advanced in the galaxy. Your technology, I point out while the Vorthak continues its impromptu foam-dodging dance, was designed by beings who never had to outrun anything that wanted to eat them. But they're not listening. They're too busy trying to figure out why their superior intellects aren't working on a creature that learns survival by actually having to survive things. Steelclaw pulls out what looks like the biggest, most intimidating weapon I've ever seen. Quantum destabilizer, he announces grimly. Stand clear. This will disrupt the molecular bonds in the target's immediate area. Wait, I say, because even I know this sounds like a terrible idea. Aren't we still inside the same room as zap? The quantum destabilizer fires a beam that hits the spot where the Vorthak was standing approximately half a second ago. The creature had somehow anticipated this too, and moved. The beam hits the containment unit instead. The containment unit that was, until recently, holding other specimens. The backup containment systems explode in a shower of sparks and scientific equipment that probably costs more than most star systems. Fortunately, the other specimens were just some kind of space hamsters, but now we've got space hamsters running around too, which really adds to the chaos. Perfect, I mutter. Just perfect. The Vorthak sits down in the middle of the laboratory and begins grooming itself, apparently deciding that watching these highly advanced beings repeatedly fail at basic problem-solving is more entertaining than actually hunting them. Bloofington has now achieved a color that doesn't exist in normal space-time. Zara 9 is recalculating so fast she's started smoking. Professor Claxon is shouting about theoretical impossibilities. Commander Steelclaw is ordering his troops to try bigger weapons. And I'm starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, all this advanced technology and superior evolution might be missing something pretty fundamental. Something that a primitive human who grew up with dogs, cats, and a basic understanding of animal psychology might actually understand. Time to see if being a caveman has any advantages in a galaxy full of over-engineered solutions to simple problems. While Steelclaw's troops are busy arguing about which bigger weapon to try next, I do something that apparently hasn't occurred to anyone else in this room. Full of superior intellects. I stand up and walk toward the Vorthak. Martins, no, Claxon shouts. That creature will tear you apart. Human Jake, please reconsider, Zeranine calls out, her voice pitched higher than usual. I calculate your survival probability at 0.2%. Bluffington just makes a noise like air escaping from a tire. But here's the thing about being the allegedly dumbest person in a room full of geniuses. Sometimes you notice stuff they miss, like how the Vorthak hasn't actually attacked anyone yet. Sure, it broke free when they started poking it with electric sticks, but since then, it's been sitting there watching the chaos like it's the best entertainment it's had in years. I stop about 10 feet away from the creature. It looks at me with those amber eyes, head tilted slightly. Curious, not aggressive, curious. Hey there, I say quietly. The room goes silent except for the alarms, which are still blaring because apparently Zentorian technology can't figure out that the emergency is kind of ongoing. The Vorthok's ears twitched forward. It's listening. Yeah, I bet this is all pretty overwhelming, I continue, keeping my voice calm and steady. One minute you're napping in your fancy box, next minute everyone's running around screaming and shooting things at you. What is he doing? Steelclaw whispers loudly. Is this some kind of primitive Earth ritual? I ignore him. The Vorthak shifts slightly, lowering its head. In dog language, that's usually a good sign. In cat language, it means they're deciding whether you're worth their time. In apex predator language, well, I'm about to find out. You know what I think? I say, sitting down cross-legged on the lab floor. I think you're not actually trying to hurt anyone. You're just confused and maybe a little angry that they kept poking you with things. The creature's posture changes. The tension in its shoulders relaxes slightly. It's still alert, still ready to move, but not coiled to strike. Martinez, Klaxon hisses, what are you doing? Something called reading body language, I reply without taking my eyes off the Vorthak. You know, that primitive skill that predators and prey have been using to communicate for millions of years before anyone invented universal translators. The Vorthak makes a sound, not a roar or a growl, something softer, almost like a question? Yeah, I hear you, I say. This place is pretty weird, isn't it? All these flashing lights and beeping machines. Probably gives you a headache. I slowly extend one hand, palm up, not reaching toward it, just offering, like you would with a nervous dog. The Vorthak stares at my hand for a long moment. Then, moving with that liquid grace that all great predators have, it takes a step forward. Steelclaw's weapon powers up. Hold your fire, I say sharply, still not looking away from the creature. You shoot now and I guarantee it will go from curious to homicidal in about half a second. Another step. The Vorthak is close enough now that I can see the individual patterns in its fur, the way the muscles move under its skin. This is definitely a creature built for killing, no doubt about that. But right now, it's just investigating. You're not a mindless monster, are you? I murmur. You're smart. Probably smarter than most of the beings in this room. You just think differently than they do. The creature extends its head toward my outstretched hand. I can feel its breath, warm and surprisingly not terrifying. It sniffs once, twice. Then it does something that makes everyone in the room gasp. It gently touches its nose to my palm. Impossible, Klaxon breathes. The psychic dampeners should prevent any form of non-aggressive contact. Maybe, I say quietly as the Vorthak settles down beside me, close enough that I can feel its warmth. Your psychic dampeners were solving the wrong problem. The galaxy's most feared predator, the creature that requires extinction-level containment protocols, is now lying down next to a human college student like it's the most natural thing in the world. And for the first time since I got to this cosmic university, I'm starting to think maybe being primitive isn't such a bad thing after all. The silence stretches for about 30 seconds before Zeranai's logical circuits apparently overload. This does not compute, she announces, optical sensors whirring frantically. Galactic threat assessment protocols clearly classify the Vorthak as hostile to all sentient life. Current behavior contradicts 17 different xenobiological studies. The Vorthak, meanwhile, has decided that my lap looks like an excellent place for a nap. All 6 legs are tucked under its body, and it's making a sound that I can only describe as purring, if purring could level buildings. It's not supposed to do that, Bluffington squeaks from behind an overturned table. He's managed to cycle through the entire visible spectrum and is now working on colors that probably violate several laws of physics. Nothing about this makes sense, Professor Klaxon mutters, his forearms gesticulating wildly. According to every scientific model, that creature should have killed you by now. I scratch behind one of the Vorthak's ears. It leans into the touch and purrs louder. Maybe that's your problem right there, Professor, I say. Your scientific models. Explain, he demands, his translator crackling with indignation. Well, let's see. I gesture around the room with my free hand while continuing to pet what is apparently the galaxy's most dangerous lapcat. You classified this as a mindless killer because it's an apex predator. You built containment systems designed to hold a monster. You studied it like it was a natural disaster with claws. The Vorthak opens one amber eye and looks at Klaxon with what I swear is disdain. But you never considered that maybe, just maybe, an intelligent predator might have needs beyond just hunting and killing, like social interaction, mental stimulation, basic respect for its autonomy. To Class Omega threat, Steelclaw interjects. Social interaction is not a factor in threat assessment protocols. Right there, I point at him while the Vortak shifts to get more comfortable. That's your other problem. You're so busy categorizing and classifying that you forgot to actually observe. We observe extensively, Klaxon protests. We have 17 different monitoring systems recording every aspect of its behavior. Do you, though? I look around the room at all the smoking, broken equipment. Or do you just record data and assume you understand what it means? The Vorthak makes another soft sound and nuzzles against my shoulder. At this point, I'm pretty sure it's just showing off for the aliens. For instance, I continue, did your extensive observations notice that this creature has been trying to communicate this entire time? Communication requires language matrices and... Oh, no, it doesn't, I interrupt Klaxon, which probably violates about 6 different academic protocols. Communication is about intent, body language, emotional context, things humans had to learn because we evolved alongside other species that could kill us if we misunderstood their signals. Zara A's processors are working overtime. You are suggesting that human evolutionary disadvantages created advantages in interspecies communication? I'm saying that when your species spent millions of years as the apex everything, you never learned how to read a room. I gesture at the Vorthak, which has now rolled onto its back like it wants belly rubs. This guy broke out because you kept treating it like a specimen instead of a thinking, feeling being. It's not trying to escape, it's trying to find someone who doesn't see it as just a collection of threat statistics. That's anthropomorphism, Klaxon scoffs, projecting human emotions onto non-human entities. Is it? I ask, obliging the Vorthak with some belly scratches. It kicks one leg like a dog, which somehow makes it both adorable and terrifying. Or is it basic emotional intelligence? This creature is intelligent, social, and has been locked in solitary confinement for who knows how long, while beings with superiority complexes poke it with sticks and catalog its reactions. The purring gets louder. I think the Vorthak approves of my analysis. You want to know why your containment failed? I look directly at Professor Klaxon. Because you built a prison for a monster, but you were holding a person. A non-human person with different needs and communication styles, but a person nonetheless. Impossible, Steelclaw mutters, but he's lowered his weapon. Is it though? I scratch under the Vorthak's chin, and it practically melts. Look at it. Really look at it. Not as a threat to be contained, but as a living being, trying to make sense of its situation. The room falls quiet except for the continued purring and the gradually dying alarm systems. You know what the really funny part is? I continue. You all keep talking about how advanced your civilizations are, how sophisticated your technology and understanding, but you miss the most basic truth about intelligent life. Which is? Klaxon asks, his tone significantly less condescending than before. Everyone just wants to be understood. The Vorthak opens both eyes and looks around the room at the assembled aliens. Then it looks back at me and makes a soft chuffing sound that might be laughter. Yeah, even the galaxy's deadliest predator gets the joke. The cavalry arrives for the second time today, except this time it's the real cavalry. Dean Quarblax himself descends from the administrative levels, accompanied by a full entourage of university officials, emergency response teams, and what I assume are lawyers from 17 different star systems. Quarblax is a megalopod, which means he looks like someone crossed an octopus with a filing cabinet and gave it tenure. He floats into the devastated laboratory on his administrative hover platform, his 12 appendages already working on 17 different tablets simultaneously. Report, he commands, in a voice that could freeze helium. Everyone starts talking at once. Klaxon launches into a detailed explanation of theoretical impossibilities. Steelclaw begins reciting security protocols. Zara Benign starts downloading incident reports. Bluefington just cycles through colors like a malfunctioning mood ring. And I'm sitting on the floor with the galaxy's most feared predator draped across my lap like a 600-pound house cat. Silence! Corblax booms, and the room goes quiet. His dozen eyes swivel to take in the scene. The destroyed containment unit, the space hamster still running around, the smoking remains of millions of credits worth of equipment, and me giving belly rubs to their Class Omega specimen. Explain this, he says, pointing at me in the Vorthak. Well, I begin, but Klaxon interrupts. Dean Corblax, I must protest the primitive human's interference with our scientific protocols. His unscientific approach has compromised the integrity of our research and… Professor Klaxon, the Dean's voice could cut through hyperspace. Is that creature currently attacking anyone? Klaxon pauses. Well, no, but… Is it attempting to escape? Not exactly, but… Has anyone been injured since the human approached it? The longest pause yet. No. Then perhaps, Corblax says dryly, you should reconsider your definition of compromised integrity. The Dean's hover platform drifts closer to where I'm sitting. The Vorthak opens one eye, assesses the new arrival, and apparently decides he's not worth interrupting a good belly rub session for. Mr. Martinez, Corblax says, please explain how a first-year exchange student accomplished what our entire security apparatus could not. I talk to it like it was a person instead of a problem, I reply simply. Elaborate. Well, everyone else was trying to solve the wrong equation. They saw a dangerous predator and jumped straight to containment and control. But this guy isn't dangerous because he's malicious. He's dangerous because he's powerful, and he was frustrated. The Vorthak makes a soft sound of agreement and nuzzles my hand. So, instead of treating the symptoms, I continue, I address the cause, loneliness, boredom, lack of agency, basic psychological needs, that apparently don't show up in your threat assessment matrices. Fascinating, Corblax murmurs, making notes on 3 different tablets. And your assessment of our security response? I glance at Commander Steelclaw, whose armor is still smoking from various weapon malfunctions. Textbook example of why bigger hammers don't work on problems that aren't nails. I see. The Dean turns to Professor Klaxon. Professor, it appears your primitive student has provided a masterclass in practical xenobiology. Perhaps you should consider incorporating his methodology into your curriculum. Klaxon's translator makes a sound like grinding gears. Furthermore, Corblax continues, effective immediately, Mr. Martinez will be transferred to our Advanced Interspecies Communication Program, full scholarship. The Vorthak will remain uncontained, but under his supervision. What? Klaxon's forearms gesture wildly. This violates every safety protocol in the university charter. Professor, the Dean's tone could freeze stars. Your safety protocols resulted in a containment breach, millions of credits in damage, and a code-red emergency alert. Mr. Martinez's approach resulted in a peaceful resolution, and what appears to be the first successful interspecies bond with a Class Omega predator in recorded history. He pauses for effect. I believe the primitive human wins this round. The Vorthak chooses this moment to roll over completely, presenting its belly while making sounds that are definitely laughter. Even the space hamsters seem to be snickering. There is one condition, Mr. Martinez, Corblax adds. Yes, sir. You will prepare a full report on your methodology for distribution to all xenobiology programs throughout the galaxy. It seems advanced civilizations have something to learn from primitive communication techniques. Happy to, Dean. Should I include a section on the importance of belly rubs in interspecies diplomacy? The Vorthak purrs louder, as if to say absolutely. Behind us, I hear Zarajanai computing the probability of human superiority in xenobiological applications. Based on her cooling fan activity, I think she's getting some surprising results. Bluefington has settled into a shade that might be called confused respect. And Professor Klaxon is standing there with 4 arms full of useless technology, watching a primitive human give belly rubs to the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. Sometimes the best solutions are the simplest ones. Sometimes the most advanced minds need to learn from the most basic instincts. And sometimes, even in a galaxy full of superior civilizations, a little human common sense goes a long way. Especially when it comes with belly rubs.